I'm going to try to explain a perfect build here. But before I begin, one of the suggestions that a YouTuber had was that I explain a little bit more about what I do. So when you see the EXP in the parentheses under my broadcast, that means I'm going to be explaining things, whether it be a raid or like this one, just what a perfect build is. Most of them will be actually in-game, so there'll be gameplay and I'll be explaining things. This one, there's actually not going to be any gameplay, but I just kind of wanted to go over something really quick. And it's what we consider a perfect build, and by we, I mean me and my clan members and most of the Destiny community. There's multiple perfect builds. What you're trying to do is what's called min-maxing, or trying to increase the things that help you and decrease or eliminate the things that you don't need. So there are a couple of different level systems in Destiny. One is your base level, which goes from 1 to 40. Once you hit 40, you are capped. You can't get past level 40. But this is one of those games where once you hit the level cap, that's actually where it begins. That's where the game begins. And you're going for end game play, which is related to a sub-level, which is this over here on the right side, is light level. This goes from 0 to 335. That is the cap. And that affects how much damage you do to enemies, how much damage enemies do to you. There's also certain things, quests or raids and strikes that you can't even enter unless you have a certain light level. So whenever you hear a person talking, yeah, I got to light level 35, that's the highest, I got a good build. That may or may not necessarily be true. We're going to go into a little bit details about min-maxing and this build. What I have here is what I consider a quote-unquote perfect, and it's not actually perfect. I'll go over that at the very end, why this isn't perfect, but it's pretty damn close. But this is a perfect build for a warlock. I'm a warlock. For a Sunsinger class, each class, Warlock, Titan, and Hunter, have 3 subclasses related to a given element. So I'm a Warlock class. My subclass that this perfect build is for is the Sunsinger, which is a fire-based subclass. This is the perfect build for the Warlock Sunsinger subclass going into a player versus environment game. So again, multiple different perfect build types. This is a perfect build for Sunsinger Warlock going into player versus environment, where I'd be fighting the computer basically, not other players. Things to mention on the left side, though this doesn't necessarily have to do with the perfect build. The perfect build has to do with what weapons I'm actually using. So at any given time, you have 3 weapons that you can go back and forth from while you're in game, and you're allowed to set these 3 weapon types. There's your primary, special, and heavy, to whichever weapon you want. There's different types within each category. There's multiple primaries, scout, auto rifle, things like that. Multiple special, sniper, shotguns, fusion rifles, and then heavy, you have rocket launchers, heavy machine guns, and swords. Yeah, swords. Anyways, the perfect build is going to be based around the Sunsinger once again, but it's also going to be based around using a scout rifle, which is the primary I use the most. Either a sniper or a shotgun. I primarily use the sniper, but I do like the shotgun, so I will use that if there's mobs. One, and those all come into play with this quote-unquote perfect build. Now, the build has to do with what armor pieces I'm using and what benefits these armor pieces are giving me. First off, we've got I don't actually know what these are called, but I guess these are your perks. And these have to deal with how quickly your grenades regenerate, how quickly your special melee regenerates, and how quickly your super regenerates. And these are 3 offensive abilities that each class has. This build is going to be around having my grenades regenerate as quickly as possible and my melee regenerate as quickly as possible without caring so much for my super. And the reason I say that is the super that I'm using for the Sunsinger basically reses me. If I ever die, I can use my super and that brings me back to life. So most of the time I'm sitting on my super. I'm not actually going to use it until or in case I die. Truth is, I'm pretty much going to die, and that's why I like this class. But that's why I don't need it recharging as fast as I do my melee and my grenades. So with that in mind, you can see that what I've done is each armor piece has discipline, strength related to it. Again, discipline and strength are what regenerates my grenade and my melee. You'll see I do have a couple pieces that increase my intellect, but they're all based around maxing these two out. And you can see I'm at 322 out of 300 in strength and 307 out of 300 in discipline. So I've got the max on my grenade and melee recharge. And then I happen to have 1 pip in intellect, so my cooldown is reduced a little bit for my super, but not that much. So that's part of the perfect build right there, is that you have maxed out 2 of these 3 abilities, and that you have 1 or 2 in the third ability. And that's one of the things that is not perfect about my build. It is possible to have 2 abilities maxed out and 1 ability with 2 pips in it. You can see I don't have the points right now. I can majigger these around, but I still wouldn't be to the second tier yet. Something I'm working on, but I'm really close. So, not completely perfect, but getting there. Now, in addition to my abilities that I've maxed out, which we just went over, there's also stuff that's related to my subclass and my weapons that are perks in the armor. For the helmet, there really isn't anything. I do have the orb pickup creates a chance to temporarily do bonus precision damage to Taken, but that is such a case-sensitive perk that, it doesn't come up much, and it's not necessarily related to any weapons I have or anything. Down here, we're getting a little bit more into the perfect build also. The first thing you'll see on these claws is that I gain an additional melee charge. So the melee ability that I have strength that's charging as quickly as possible every 25 seconds. I can actually build up 2 of these and have 2 kind of in my back pocket ready to go. Normally you only get 1. You only get 1 melee and 1 grenade. But this piece of armor actually gives me an additional melee charge, so builds right into what I'm going for, being able to melee a bunch. Obviously, the melee attack speed, most gloves have that, and that's pretty good. But you'll see the last one increases the reload speed of my scout rifle. Now, again, that's the primary I use the most is the scout rifle, so this actually plays right into that. So that's a part of the perfect build. There's all sorts of different weapons that you can increase your reload time for, but you want to get pieces of armor that have the reload for the weapons you use the most. Moving on, we're going to my body armor. Now, for this one, again, you'll see the first perk is related to the scout rifle. That's the weapon, again, I use the most in my primary slot. But you'll see the second one is actually sniper rifle, which is another weapon that I use a lot. So depending on which weapons I'm using at the time, I can switch these around. I keep it on scout rifle a lot because the Tlaylock, which is my favorite scout, doesn't actually carry a lot of ammo, so it's nice to have more ammo for it when needed. The second one is really the big one on armor. So what it's doing is it's giving me more armor whenever I use a solar-based subclass or a fire-based subclass, and again, that is the subclass I'm using. So this piece of armor actually gives me more defense when I'm using this subclass. Part of the perfect build again. Build. Now we've got our the boots. This one's giving me extra ammo for a machine gun. So again, it is the heavy that I like to use, in fact, primarily use. So it's giving me extra ammo there. It also gives me an agility boost when I use solar double kills. So again, solar subclass. Though that's not the greatest perk in the world, it's nice to have when you need it. You get a lot of double kills with your grenades and those kind of things. And then sometimes you just need to get out of the area really quickly, and having increased agility definitely helps. But it's definitely not overly needed. The relic and the the class item really don't you play into this so much because they don't give any bonuses related to the weapons you're carrying or the class you're using. They give bonuses for increasing the experience of a given weapon, and then generating orbs, which isn't related to my weapons or my class. It's just related to killing a certain enemy. The very last thing I want to go over in the Sunsinger, and this isn't actually part of the perfect build, but it definitely helps, is in player versus environment, I use this Gift of the Sun, which gives me an additional grenade. So not only do I have an additional melee from these gloves, but I have an additional grenade from this build. And then having them recharge as fast as possible, obviously, is giving me a huge advantage. So I've got 2 grenades or 2 special melee charges ready at any given time, and then those are both regenerating really quickly. I think for the time being, that's it. Again, there's other perfect builds. I'll go over another build once I have it complete for player versus player, which is definitely a different style. You've got to have different perks. A lot of these perks and abilities wouldn't really apply or aren't giving me a certain advantage. So, but anyways, that's it. Hope that you found this informative, and obviously if you have any questions, post them. And then, the next time we play something, I'm going to do another one of the explanations. I don't know if it's going to be a raid or maybe Prisons of Elder or something like that. But be on the lookout for those, those EXP in brackets under the description. And yeah, appreciate it. All right, bye, YouTubers.